So this week we were hosting a webinar to show you how you can automate testing of SAP integrations, and you can obviously see that in the accompanying blog, or maybe you can also see it here. And we showed you how easy it was to set up testing, how you could mock services, how you could test PI to CPI migration. But one of the questions that come up, and I think this also comes up a lot of times when I'm presenting our testing solutions to customers, is can this also test performance? And I would say functional testing versus performance testing is two different things. You want to measure something different, or in one you want to measure, and the other one you want to see that it works, and that is all you care about. And for now, we have not really found a way how to do it. And we've also been thinking a bit about this for a long time. And we often just struggle with what it is that we actually can achieve with this thing. So obviously, if you are deploying something and it suddenly performs 20%, 50% worse, there is something you need to look into, and something that was not good after it. But I think in a CPI or a PI world, in on-premise world, you controlled the server and you know what it was doing, and it was not doing anything else. In a CPI world or cloud integration world, you have tenants, and I think that they somehow are shared, or the virtual infrastructure below it is shared between other customers. Don't quote me on that, but I think that there is some dependency on how much other customers would also be using these tenants, how many integration engines you have, etc. Because it would be strange that they would have all of this unused CPU utilization if they could share that between different systems. And that means that if some customer is using a lot of CPU or network or whatever database access, this would affect other people, and then that would mean, okay, suddenly the system would perform worse. And obviously this is something SAP is looking into, so it does not affect customers, and that is what the cloud is about, that the service provider is able to monitor and maintain these things. But there's a number of factors that is important in this perspective. So obviously, if you send in a payload, you want to see how it's being processed, and you want to see how long time it takes for this to be processed. But there can be latency with the services that you're calling. So say you're calling SuccessFactors, that system has some latency. There's network latency, and then it needs to take some time to process the given request, and that, I guess, can also vary. As we talked about, the CPI system can do something else, and lastly, the database access can work differently. Or it can be under load or doing other things, and you don't know what this is. So there is two types of tests that you can do. So one is to send a message in and see how it performs, and see if it performs in the same bracket of time, plus minus 30-40%. And if it does that, it's probably okay, because of these other factors we do not control. If it's maybe above 40%, there's something you need to look into about what has happened. And obviously this could be these factors, or a patch applied by SAP that makes something run worse. The other thing is, if you want to say, okay, we sent 200 or 10,000 requests to the system, how long time does it take for it to process that? And obviously it depends on the number of server nodes you have, and if the system was scaling up or doing something else in that perspective. And yeah, it's a good question if that would be possible, and how the system would behave in that case. And I think there's a lot of customers that have these concerns because they have high volume scenarios and want to find a good way on how to monitor these scenarios. And I think this is a way that this can be achieved. So we could implement it either that just set the FIGAF system to just send a number of requests or copy the test cases whatever number of times and monitor each of the different payloads and see, okay, how well does this perform? Does it increase or decrease performance? Or we could also move it to Apache JMeter, that is, I guess, an open source implementation that is tailored towards testing performance of HTTP calls. And this would also be pretty simple to just export this test data, because you do not need to verify the result of this test run is successful. You just need to verify how long time it takes. So that would also be an option. But in the end, it is probably not that difficult to do this. Yeah, an Apache JMeter test case could run a given scenario in number of times and see how well it performs. So with that in mind, are there any scenarios where you see that it is vital to be able to do performance testing of a CPI system that you do not really understand the full architecture, how it is under the runtime, and how much variance that runtime can give you depending on the day load of the system, etc. And what is it that you actually want to achieve this? Is this one method performance or 10,000 methods performance? Please let me know in the description. I'd like to have your take on this and how we best can support it. But yeah, if you want to know more about the tool or how to test normally, you see the video that I've linked somewhere up here, hopefully, and then let's have a chat if that is interesting. But thanks for watching.